to Science Before Art. I'm Chef Wodai, your host for today, and today we're going to be making bread pudding. Bread pudding is basically a baked custard that we're making with dried out bread. I don't want to say stale, but dried out bread because we can actually dry this in the oven at about 150 to 200 degrees if you don't have dried out bread. This recipe that I'm going to use, I'm going to add raisins to it. If you don't like raisins, you don't have to add them. If you want to try to add something else, like apples or nuts or something like that, feel free. At the end, I'm going to show you how to make kind of a anglaise, which I add whiskey to. You can add rum, you can add whiskey, bourbon, whatever you feel that'll enhance your anglaise, or you can just have it plain. I've actually added passion fruit puree to this, and it actually worked out very well. So let's get started. Let's get our ingredients, and let's get big. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is take our day-old bread that we've left cubed out on the counter overnight, and we're going to soak that in our milk. So we've dried it out, now we have to rehydrate it. So just gently toss that bread inside the milk. You don't want to be too rough with it because your bread is dried out and it could crumble. So just give it a nice little turn, and don't worry if it doesn't all get soaked, because it will continue to soak up that milk as we continue. Next, we're going to take our dry ingredients and add those all together, and then we're going to give them a quick whisk just to incorporate everything so that your spices don't stick together when we add the wet ingredients. Next, we're going to go ahead and whisk our eggs together. Remember, we want to start off with room temperature eggs. So if you're bringing them right out of the refrigerator, we're going to put those in a bowl of warm water for about 5 minutes. Then we're going to add our vanilla and whisk that all together. So now we're going to go ahead and combine our wet and our dry ingredients. So the biggest thing here is just to make sure that we whisk or combine everything so it is all incorporated, making sure that there's no clumps of sugar or that sugar is stuck to the bottom of the bowl. Okay, so our bread should have soaked up all or most of our milk. So now we can go ahead and add our egg and sugar mixture to the bowl. Now we'll go ahead and add those raisins, and after that, gently give it a turn inside the bowl, just making sure that we get coverage of all the bread that was inside. So just gently turning, just like we did when we added the bread to the milk. Now we're going to go ahead and coat our casserole dish with butter. We just want to make sure that we get in all the corners, the sides, all the way up to the top, because our bread pudding is going to rise in the pan. It will fall slightly, but we want to make sure that it doesn't stick as well. Now let's go ahead and add our bread pudding to our casserole dish, and then we'll go ahead and put it in the oven that has been preheated at 350 degrees. This bread pudding should take about 35 minutes depending on your oven and the size of the casserole dish. You will be able to tell when your bread pudding is getting done because it'll turn golden brown on top, and it will start to pull away from the size of the casserole dish. You can also take a knife or a pick, insert it in the center, and it should come out clean. So I've taken a little bit of apricot preserves and I've added a little water to it just to thin it out and microwaved it for just a few seconds, just so it's thin enough that I can spread it on top of the bread pudding. This is going to give it a nice shine like a glaze, and it'll add a little bit of flavor to your bread pudding. All right, now we're going to leave this on the counter just to sit out for probably about 20 minutes, and then we'll put it in the refrigerator to just chill until it's firm. Okay, for our sauce, we're going to add a half a cup of sugar to our egg, and we're going to whisk that together. Then we're going to add our butter and our remaining sugar and our cream or milk, and add that to a saucepan and start to heat that over medium heat. Okay, so once our milk and our butter and sugar is all dissolved and it starts to steam and you start to see bubbles around the side of the pot, we are all ready. You can turn the heat off or remove the pot from the heat. Now we're going to temper our eggs by adding about a third of our hot milk to our eggs. You want to make sure that you're whisking constantly as you're pouring your hot cream into your eggs. We're tempering these eggs to make sure that we don't fry them when we add them back to the heat in the pot. Now that you have your cream added to your eggs, we're going to go ahead and add those eggs back into our saucepan, and then we're going to turn the heat back on medium. If this is your first time doing it, you might want to do it a little lower than medium, and then we're going to whisk constantly. Now what we're looking for here is for our sauce to start to thicken. Now your sauce comes into a soft boil, which means that it is boiling around the size of the pan and starting to get larger bubbles. Means that your sauce is probably ready. Alright, if you see any white little chunks inside of your anglaise, that's just cooked eggs. You can go ahead and strain those out. At this point, you can go ahead and add whatever flavoring you want, be it whiskey, rum, passion fruit, whatever you like, and then go ahead and set that over a mixture of ice and water just to help it cool down faster. Then you can wrap it, put it in the refrigerator until you're ready to serve it. Alright, so after everything is all done and your bread pudding is cool, you can heat it slightly in the microwave for just a few seconds, slice it, and go ahead and top it with your